Mr. Boston, why did my baby need hypothermia treatment? Want to know what I'm getting at here? Stay with me as I share with you this very important information. Hello, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm a childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorney practicing law here in the state of Maryland, and I would like to quickly talk with you today about hypothermia treatment or hypothermia cooling and HIE, or hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. Originally I had a family that, they contacted me because their baby had to go through hypothermia cooling following delivery. And that was something that was a huge shock to them. They didn't really know what was going on. Only thing they knew is that there were concerns by the doctors and the nurses that the baby had suffered a brain injury, and this HIE word was being used, and they were confused. They had questions. And so for today's video, I would like to talk with you about hypothermia cooling and hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, or HIE, and how we see this in some of the calls that come to our office. All right, so hypothermia cooling is something that is being used now in treatment for babies who, if they have suffered a brain injury, or there's concerns that there may be a brain injury that was, suffered during delivery. And so there are criteria that doctors, that they're going to use when they are, deciding whether to go that route with the hypothermia cooling. Namely, they're going, one thing they could be looking at is the pH. Was the pH less than 7? So there's going to be some factors that they're going to take into consideration before doing it. And the idea is to try to cool the baby down, to try to slow the spread of the injury. And so when we're talking about hypothermia and we're talking about HIE, or hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, the reason why these two can go hand in hand is because if your baby was dealing with HIE, then what that means, generally is that your baby had a reduced level, your baby could have had a reduced level of blood and oxygen, which led to a brain injury. And there can be multiple ways in which a baby can suffer a brain injury during a vaginal delivery. You can have umbilical cord compression, and what that means is that the umbilical cord can get squeezed, and that can happen a couple of ways. Either you can have the umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck, which would be nuchal cord. There could be issues with placental abruption. There could be issues with with the umbilical cord being delivered before the baby, and then the umbilical cord gets compressed because as the baby is coming down the birth canal, the baby can compress the umbilical cord. So there's multiple ways in which a baby can have a reduced level of blood and oxygen getting to the baby, which can lead to a brain injury. And what doctors and nurses, what they have to be on the lookout for is, what is the electronic fetal heart monitor? What is it showing? When you have, when we get calls with some of these cases, in some instances, what you'll see on that electronic fetal heart monitor is when the cord is compressed, you'll have a sudden drop or a sudden, decrease in the baby's heart rate. That will be reflected on the electronic fetal heart monitor. And so, all of these things are of great concern when doctors and nurses are, when there is a vaginal delivery going on. And this is why doctors and nurses, they have to pay close attention to these issues. So, why have I taken the time today to talk with you about hypothermia and HIE? And that is because, you may have questions. Maybe your baby has had to have hypothermia cooling, or, maybe doctors have talked with you about HIE, and now you have questions. Now you're wondering, should you have had an emergency C-section? Was it proper for the doctors to have you to go ahead and keep pushing for a vaginal delivery, or should they have moved to that emergency C-section? Maybe after birth, maybe your baby was blue in color, was dealing with seizures. You have all of these questions. The hypothermia cooling was used. You have questions about what's going on with your baby and how your baby is going to deal with future challenges. If you have all of this going on and you would like to speak with me further, this is what I invite you to do. And remember, taking this next action, it costs you absolutely nothing. And what is that action? To pick up the phone and give me a call. I can be reached at 301-850-4832, or if you prefer, go ahead and you can send me an email to medicalinjury@bostonlawllc.com. You can also reach me toll free at 1-833-4BABY-HELP. I talk to parents, all the time about these types of issues, emergency C-sections and, brain injuries and all of these type of things. I talk with parents about this stuff all the time, and I will be happy to take some time and listen to your story. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law at Boston Law Group, LLC, here in the state of Maryland, and we will see you next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.